Day after day, I must face a world of strangers where I don't belong. I'm not that strong. It's nice to know that there's someone I can turn to, will always care. He's always there. Hi everybody, Ally Waldman here. Sunday with Ally time, the Barbra Streisand Videocast for February 17th, 2013. And I Won't Last a Day Without You. One of Barbra's prettier songs from the Butterfly album, a Paul Williams song. And I'm singing it today because as of yesterday, I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do this broadcast, folks. I have had a terrible week, but I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to be grateful that I woke up this morning, that I felt like $1,000,000. Okay, maybe not 1,000,000. These days it better be 1,000,000,000 if it wants to be anything. But I feel good, and I'm ready to talk and share some Barbra with you. And let's jump right in, okay? So what's the latest on the Barbra front? Well, I guess the biggest news this week is that we found out that at the Film Society of Lincoln Center, when Barbra receives the Charlie Chaplin Award, the person presenting the award to her is going to be a FOB, a friend of Barbra. Actually, FOB really stands for Friend of Bill, and the Bill in person is Bill Clinton. So President Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, will be presenting Barbra her award. And I'm sure that that makes her very, very happy, because obviously the Clintons are very, very good friends of the Brolins. And Barbra has always adored, President Clinton. And this is probably means more to her than just, somebody else. As somebody mentioned the other day, they really should have, maybe they should have chosen, Meryl Streep or Shirley MacLaine or one of Barbra's contemporaries to present the award to her. But I think if Willie Wyler was still around, or Sidney Pollack, maybe they'd have the honor of doing it. I think I would doubt that any other honoree for this award has ever had an American president present it to them. So I think it's pretty cool that Bill Clinton is going to speak and present the award to Barbra. And some people have asked if the award will be televised. It usually is not televised. I imagine there will be some film clips, some highlights. Maybe something will turn up on YouTube. But we have to just hope for the best. Maybe since this is kind of a big thing in Barbra world, Barbra will record it, and maybe some of it will be available. Maybe part of that 11 DVD set or the 12 DVD set, which people have been asking me about. And I'm telling you, as much as I know about it, I know Funny Girl to Funny Lady. I know the David Frost show is going to be on there. I know Star Salute Israel will be on there. The Gary Moore show is going to be on there. There's going to be a lot of stuff on that, okay? So just be patient. It's all coming eventually. And we'll know more in the months ahead. Now, you might know that we talked last week about Barbra's Oscar appearance, which will be a week from today. So next Sunday, I'll still be doing prep. I'll be doing prep. Barbra will be doing prep. I'll do my broadcast and talking about it. But I think we can safely say that it looks like, Deadline sort of leaked it without leaking it, saying that it looks like Barbra's going to be doing a tribute to Marvin Hamlish. That says to me she's going to do the Marvin Hamlish tribute that she's done in the concert, maybe shorten it a little bit, cut out some of the intermediary stuff, the talking. But I could see them giving her a good 6-minute segment to sing Through the Eyes of Love, and to do The Way We Were with the arrangement that comes directly from the movie, not the single, the movie version, which is much more enhanced and shows much more of Marvin's Oscar-winning score. Also, and I don't think anybody has mentioned this, we're not sure how Barbra is going to be introduced at the Oscars to sing her song. Now, is it possible, call me crazy, but is it possible that maybe Robert Redford will appear to present Barbra doing the tribute to Marvin? That would be pretty special. You know, first time in 36 years for Barbra to be singing at the Oscars. And certainly Barbra presented Robert Redford his special Oscar in 2002, I think it was. So, turnabout fair play, maybe, we'll see. There was an article this past week on a site called The Wrap, which is a trade publication, or it used to be a trade publication. Now I think it's just an online site. But this columnist by the name of Stephen Pond was writing about Barbra's history with the Oscars. There was a lot of speculation in what he wrote. For example, he brought up the fact that the age-old controversy of Gregory Peck having been the president of the Oscars, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which presents the Oscars. He was the president in 1967 when Barbra was allowed into the Academy, even though Funny Girl was not released until 1968. Now, some people have said, well, that wasn't right. You know, Barbra hadn't done a movie yet. How could they let her become a member of the Academy? Well, Gregory Peck, in his wisdom, said Barbra's got 3 movies contracts lined up. She had Funny Girl, Hello Dolly, and On a Clear Day. She had a 3-more picture deal with Ray Stark. She was guaranteed to make at least 6 movies after 1967. It was ridiculous to keep her out of the Academy on a mere technicality. And they've since, kind of done away with that rule entirely. But, of course, they bring up that rule now because they like to say, well, if Barbra hadn't been a member of the Academy, would she have wound up in a tie with Katharine Hepburn for Best Actress for Funny Girl? So, that's one controversy. The other controversy, he says, is that Barbra purposely skipped Celine Dion's singing of I Finally Found Someone, when Barbra has always said that she was simply in the ladies' room at the time because it wasn't printed in the program when Celine was going to perform. Of course, the more suspicious amongst us like to believe that Barbra purposely was not in the audience so that her reaction couldn't be caught on camera. Who knows? Nobody knows for certain. Why do we need to even suggest that Barbra would have done that to Celine when she considers Celine a good friend? And, it kind of begs the question, well, why? If she was that much of a diva, then why did she even bother to go to the Oscars that night? Because Mirror Has Two Faces had a couple of nominations, but Barbra wasn't going to win anything. Maybe she hoped that Lauren Bacall was going to win. The fact that Lauren didn't win was, of course, a travesty. And so stupid, too. When you can think about what happened instead. Was it Claudia Binoche who won for English Patient? Ugh. Could not stand that movie. Call me Elaine from Seinfeld. I did not like The English Patient. Okay? Didn't like it. And anyway, I digress. So Steve Pond's article is interesting. If you go back and read it online, read it with a grain of salt, which is an old expression that means be a little skeptical. Okay? Now, there was another story that popped up this week on the internet from a Las Vegas newspaper. It was a story about Penn and Teller, the magician comedy duo. And Penn Jillette is the guy, the big burly guy who talks, wears glasses, has frizzy hair, quite unattractive. And he was talking about famous people who have watched their shows, and he mentioned that Barbra was one of the famous people, and the reference was that Barbra was both was fascinated by magicians, fascinated by people who love them, and fascinated by the amount of people who hate them. And she's actually pretty right about that. A lot of people don't like magicians, but a lot of people love magicians. Anyway, long story short, at the end of this story, Penn Jillette supposedly invited Barbra backstage, and when she said something about this trick that he had done that involved needles, he basically handed her like a batch of 30 needles and said, "Here, you figure it out." Ha ha ha. How funny. Well, I bring this story up because I want to tell you about my experience with Penn Jillette and how I know the man is truly an asshole. In 1996, soon after I had written the Barbra Streisand Scrapbook, I was doing some publicity for the book, not a lot, but I happened to be in San Francisco for the first Barbra Streisand fan reunion, and I was invited on a radio show to talk for a few minutes and promote the book. And it just so happened that Penn Jillette was the guest co-starring guest host or whatever. And he was such a jerk because he kept asking me questions like, well, why would you bother to write a book about Barbra Streisand? And why a scrapbook? What makes it a scrapbook? You know? So I had to like deal with this guy as civilly as possible, diplomatically as possible, without telling him that you're an idiot, you're a jerk. But I defended myself, and but I bring this up to share with you the fact that on a first-hand account, this guy's got a snarky attitude about Barbra Streisand. He doesn't like her. He didn't like me for writing the book, didn't think she was worthy of a book, and didn't think that she was worthy of knowing any of his magician secrets, and he treated her shabbily backstage in Las Vegas. Frankly, I think that makes him an asshole. To quote, what is it, Meet the Fockers? Yeah, Meet the Fockers. Anyway, let's move on. Guilt Trip is opening in the UK, Great Britain, on March 8th. And I understand there's a lot of signage going up in railway stations and on buses and I guess in various sundry billboards here and there around the cities. So watch for that. And it's good timing because Mother's Day in England is on March 10th. So 2 days before Mother's Day, the Guilt Trip will be opening, and all my friends overseas in Great Britain, in Ireland, in Wales, in Scotland, in England can finally get to see the movie on the big screen. Still waiting for news on when it's opening in other regions, but I do guarantee, well, I don't guarantee you, but I have heard that it will be spreading out soon. And for Americans, us folks here in the States, Guilt Trip is going to be coming out, I believe the date, well, it's Mother's Day in America. So let's see. Let's look at my handy-dandy Barbra calendar and figure out when is Mother's Day. Mother's Day is May 12th. May 12th, see? That's on my Barbra calendar. So on May 12th in America, now the DVD and the is a Blu-ray DVD combo. Amazon is already advertising it. They advertise a lot of cutscenes, alternate ending, alternate beginning. So it certainly sounds like something we're going to want to buy. As if we wouldn't want to buy it just for Barbra's performance in the movie and to have the movie as part of our collection. But they're going to throw in some extras. I don't think they mentioned a commentary, but there's going to be other stuff. So it'll be worth it. Now, back to my list. Yes. What do Beyonce, George Clooney, Ellen DeGeneres, Britney Spears, Sally Field, Spike Lee, Sarah Jessica Parker, Meryl Streep, and Barbra Streisand all have in common? Well, they're all on the NRA enemy list. Now, the NRA is the National Rifle Association, and they are a pro-gun lobby. They advocate for people who love guns, but more than that, they advocate for people who, the companies that make the guns and make the bullets, make the ammunition. They don't believe in any form of gun control. And all these people that I just mentioned are all advocates for gun control. Not taking guns away from people entirely, but controlling who gets a gun, whether it's licensed, whether or not there's a background check, and whether or not somebody needs high-capacity magazines that can shoot 30 bullets at a time and massacre people the way they did in Aurora, Colorado, and Newtown, Connecticut, and other places, Virginia Tech. So how bizarre is it that this organization would create a enemies list and put on the list all of these artists who are simply advocating for gun control, a responsible attitude about guns? Quite different than people like, Tom Selleck, who basically think that the more guns the better, because he is an advocate and a spokesperson for the NRA. I'm sure Tom Selleck is a very nice person, but he has yet to speak out in defending his stance on that. But I don't want to get political, because I know there are people out there who may disagree with me. So let us just agree to hold to our positions, whatever they are. But I think an enemies list is over the top. I do. I'm sorry. We shouldn't consider anybody an enemy simply if we disagree with their political views on something. So at 1724, I think it's time for us to get into a little Barbra memorabilia. Yeah, okay? So what do I have to share with you this week? Let's take a look. I've got to back up here for a minute. Now this is something interesting. Take a look. You see that? Let me hold it up. Oop, there we go. See that? Barbara Wood. There's got to be a smarter way for me to do this. Here we go. Barbara Wood. This is from the third reunion. And the third reunion was held in Los Angeles. And this came in a nice little net. See, it came in a whole little net. And it included a whole Barbara sort of picnic pack. I'm going to open it up and show you the other elements. And what we did is we created a camp theme. Everybody was going to Camp Barbra, which of course was in Malibu. And we actually went up to Barbara's Malibu estate. And we got a little hat. See? A little Barbara hat. Can you see it there? Hey, the third reunion. There goes my hair. Got a water bottle. And you got a Barbra Frisbee, which you could play on the lawn. That was a nice little giveaway, don't you think? The third reunion was great, because we did get to go up to Barbara's Malibu home, the one in Ramirez Canyon, where it had the 5 houses where she lived with John and Jason and John's son Christopher Peters. And we got to tour the houses. I showed you some other stuff before. But that was one of the giveaways. It was really a cool giveaway. Now, here's another thing that I found recently. I don't know who did this, but I printed this out on photo paper. This was, I thought, a really beautiful sketch or artwork that somebody did. Clearly it's the My Man shot, but it was so beautifully done. And the coloring is so interesting. And again, just part of the collection. More collection. The Barbra Streisand TV Guide covers. Now this one, of course, is from 1994, that tied into Barbara's concert tour and her Emmy-winning concert tour, HBO concert TV special. And then this one, which I think was when she was going to be appearing, well, it was at the Golden Globes. It's tied into the Golden Globes. And it was an interview with Barbra. And she was also doing a Barbara Walters interview. Now, this one was very nice because it was a photograph. I wasn't thrilled about this one with the artwork because it's so exaggerated, you know? I mean, seriously. But an interesting thing about TV Guide, folks, and I share this with you. For some reason, TV Guide neglected to do Barbra in the 1960s. Now, after My Name is Barbra, when she won the Emmy for her first television special, when the special also won, when it won the Peabody Award, it got all the plaudits in the world. You would think for Color Me Barbra, they would have put her on the cover of TV Guide. But they didn't. They did a story, I think, on the inside about the fashions. And then similarly, when she did Musical Instruments a few years later, in 1974, again, they did a story on the inside and mostly showed off the clothes she was wearing. They just neglected Barbra. Now, I understand she wasn't a regular weekly series television personality, but when she did something on television, it was special. So TV Guide, you really blew it for a lot of years. And I still am not totally forgiving you. Finally, oh no, not finally, I got two more things to show you. This is something that I bought off eBay a few years back. This is my Streisand Superman clock. And I don't have a battery in it right now. But, you know, kind of a nice way to look up at the time and see Barbara's tush staring back at you. And finally, remember last week I was waxing nostalgic about going to record stores and seeing the latest Barbra something hanging in the window. Well, the other thing they used to do was called bin dividers. And what they would do is they would put a cardboard stand between the bins to let you know that here is a new Barbra Streisand album. And here's the one that they did for Songbird. See that? New Barbra, Songbird. Come and get it. Here's your Barbra. Now this was not meant to be hung in a window because it says right on the back, this is a new release display card. And they wanted the record shop owners to literally put it right in the bin so that everybody would see this, go right over and pick up the album. Don't you miss those albums? God, I miss albums. Anyway, so I've kept this all these years, Barbra Streisand Songbird. Sorry, couldn't find a bird. Which is funny, because remember back then, the famous Don't Believe What You Read story that Barbra had birds flying all over her house? Clearly that was not the case. I don't think Barbra was ever a big bird collector. Although now she does supposedly have chickens on her suburban farm, high on the cliffs of Malibu, overlooking the Pacific. What a way to live. You can understand why she didn't want to schlep all the way down to Paramount and keep it close to the house to film The Guilt Trip. But I'll tell you something, when they get around to filming Gypsy, if it means going to Berlin or going to Paris or going somewhere else to film it, she'll do it. Because remember, this is the same Barbra Streisand that went to Czechoslovakia just to film Yentl. So, with that in mind, at 24:03, I'm going to say adios for today. And, you know, guys, I kind of think that maybe Sunday with Ally is a lucky thing for me. Because, like I said, I was feeling so terrible most of this week that I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do my broadcast. But woke up today feeling good, feeling strong. And maybe it's because I subconsciously knew that I had to face the camera and talk to all of you and send out my good wishes and my Barbra stories. And I don't know, maybe it does something to the endorphins. Maybe it makes you feel better. Before I go, one last plug. I always put this in because it never goes away, unfortunately. If anybody would like to show their support for Sunday with Ally, help me out with all my medical expenses and all my serious problems with the medical expenses, please go to nothingsimpossible-project.blogspot and give whatever you can. You know, like I said, every little bit helps. And I will say goodbye for now and see you next week when I'll have more Barbra news. And just think, we'll be like right on the cusp, right on the brink, right on the cliff of the Oscar broadcast. So till next week, this is Ally Waldman signing off. Bye-bye.